Well, hello everybody. Good New Year's Eve to everybody. And I'd like to thank everybody for showing up. Can you guys hear me and see me? So if somebody would type in, yes, we can hear you and see you. I want to make sure I'm coming in clearly. Can you guys hear me and can you see me? I want to comment. Okay, very good. Mercedes Luck says, yo, hey Joe, seeing you live here in Mississippi. Okay, guys. Tonight we're going to be talking about eBay. And I'm not going to be reading your comments, questions, and concerns because you are going to be telling me live your comments, questions, and concerns. And in a few minutes, I'm going to introduce my special guest star, someone many of you probably know, and you'll be seeing him in about 5 minutes. And a few updates. Firstly, it is still cloudy and rainy, okay? That is never going to change. It's going to rain. It's going to be cloudy and rainy tomorrow and the next day, okay? Because I was hoping to go out and do an exploration video for you guys, but it might not happen. It's definitely not going to happen tomorrow because it's going to rain all day. And Sunday's in serious doubt too. So yeah, tonight we're going to talk about eBay. Quite a few things have gone down since my Friday night video. I will discuss a few of them. And I hope your sales were good. I hope you're all making money. I had a funny incident happen just tonight. About maybe an hour ago, I got a message from a prospective buyer about a retaining bracket. That's one of those metal things that I showed you. And they only fit the car that I say they're going to fit. And I go through a lot of trouble describing it. So this guy writes to me and he says, height and bolt pattern. That's all he says to me in the message, like in a demanding way, height and bolt pattern. That concerns me greatly because he wants to use that bracket for something that it's not meant for. So I was going to block him anyway. But before I blocked him, I did what Dennis Copper always says. And I went, I checked the feedback he left for all his buyers. Nothing but black and red. Neutrals and negatives galore. I blocked him, didn't even answer him. So yeah, I did what I had to do. Ed, the reselling writer, says his sales have been amazing, but not on eBay. 1 sale on eBay, but 7 sales on Poshmark. I have never sold on Poshmark, nor have I ever bought anything there, or on Etsy either. And I don't think I'm ever going to. I do my buying on eBay when I can, and when I can, I jump over to Amazon. Amazon, is pretty good for buying if you're buying from FBA. But for the love of God, and this is just my opinion, by the way, don't buy from a third-party seller on Amazon because I got dicked over royally, all right? Now, I'm not saying they're all bad. I'm just saying I myself will never buy from a third-party seller on Amazon. But, like I always say, you guys do what works for you. And I really don't want to talk about Amazon tonight. I want to talk mainly about eBay. And I'm going to ramble on for 1 more minute. Duncan Viola comes with an interesting comment. Joe's block list must be as long as a 20 set of encyclopedias by now. Duncan, you know something? I've been blocking people since January of 1999 when I first joined eBay. And I believe the maximum amount of people you can block is 5,000. I still have not reached that point yet, but I'm going to keep on blocking people who are just concerning in nature. I see that my guest is in the studio. He's in the back room. He's in what we call the green room. And I'm going to introduce my guest to you now. He's an eBay seller, no surprise there, a very successful one. And here he comes. This
Hey,
is John.
hey, Joe. How you doing?
John, welcome to the show.
Hi. Well, you got one thing wrong. You said guest star. There's no star here. I'm just your guest.
Okay. Will you please, will you please introduce yourself to the people? Because there might be some that don't know you.
Well, I'm John from the Flippin Ain't Easy channel, and uh, Joe is one of the first YouTubers that I watched when got started back in 2019, full time reselling. I've been reselling since like 2002 on eBay. But in 2019, I had to make the switch to full time because myself and about 500 others where I work lost our job. And I took a severance package and said, you know what? Been doing this part time. I'm going to make this work. And so I spent the first year, and I joked even before that I was going to make a YouTube channel for eBay reselling. But I spent the first year just figuring out things I didn't know. And then after about the first year, I said, you know what? I've spent the last 26 years of my life helping people where I worked, and I didn't really have that anymore. And sometimes we tend to think that, this job is horrible. I wish I never had this job. But there's certain things that we take when we leave jobs like that we sort of miss. And helping people was one of those things. And I decided 2020, last year, well, almost 2 years from now, but 2020, January 1st, I made this channel, and it's sort of designed to bring to light things that are happening with eBay that affect sellers, mostly eBay, some other things, Amazon and Mercari sometimes, but rarely, and just sharing my experiences. I make mistakes as a seller. And there's a lot of you out there that sell also on eBay that may not have come across the same problems that I encounter. And if I can share my experiences with you, if there's one person that doesn't have to deal with the issue or issues that I've encountered because I shared that with you, then it's all worth it to me. And that's sort of what the channel's about.
Excellent, John. Like I said, thank you for being on tonight's show.
Thanks for having me.
And I've watched John's videos for the rest of you guys who haven't watched his. And he's one of the few people that I can tell you is like me. And he calls it right down the middle. If he agrees with a policy, he will tell you he agrees. And if he doesn't, he'll tell you why he doesn't agree with it. I have told you so many times that it just bugs me when you see people saying that everything is always good when you know it isn't.
Right.
Or you see people saying everything's always bad and
Right.
hating on eBay when that's not true either. So,
Right.
like I said, I like to see John's videos. He falls it right down the middle. And if you guys have any questions for either John or myself, please put them in the chat and address them to either John or myself so one of us knows who has to answer the question. And yeah, I mean, I still have several open returns. No surprise there. I told you guys last week about a guy who filed a false item not as described return because he thought he was getting chrome caps and he got silver. And I had to accept the return, but I wouldn't give him his original shipping. And John, when I tried to make a deduction to account for the shipping that I was paying back, eBay wouldn't let me do it.
Right.
The little tab was grayed out. Do you know any way around that?
No, actually, that's happened to me twice. And if you try on certain returns, if you try to deduct anything other than the original shipping, now it'll give you it automatically defaults at that being turned off, the original shipping. But if you go in and try to deduct anything from the purchase price of the item, the next button on the bottom, I think it's the next button, will be grayed out and will not go back to blue until you remove that deduction. And I thought, well, maybe I didn't provide, a photo, which I always provide at least one photo of why I'm deducting whatever I'm deducting. But I thought it was the photo and maybe a description. You have to type that in as to why, give a reason as to why you're doing this. And it didn't matter what I did, as long as I had something in the deduction amount, it would be gray. And someone said something about refreshing in one of my videos. They left a remark that I needed to go back and refresh, but that didn't work for me. I just think it has to do with the type of return, maybe an item not as described type of return, where eBay does not give you the ability to do anything but keep the original shipping.
That's what I was thinking, John.
Yeah.
I just wanted to double check with you.
Yeah.
Ed the Reselling Rider has a question. One of your old videos got brought up to me, Joe. When you were on the news, do you still source that way or no longer do it? Now, Ed, do you mean, do I still go to junkyards? The answer is yes. Or do you mean, do I still go out on the road like when I was a kid? And mostly no for that, but only occasionally. Because unfortunately, New York City has rebuilt all its roads, or most of them, so they don't have the super deep potholes that used to be very prevalent back in the 80s and early 90s. Boy, do I miss those days, man. They were so good. But I still love going out and doing my exploration videos and highway videos, which will lead into my next question from Q Black. Hey, Joe, big fan of yours. I'm not on eBay, but instead have a question about New York City roads as I drive around for a living. So by all means, I'd like to hear it. All right? I would love to hear your question. I do plan on doing some more highway videos. I would love to do one maybe this weekend or next if we can get a dry weekend. But I don't know if that's going to happen. Now, Duncan has a question for John. John, could you give us a few reselling tips?
Well, there's so many out there. Well, the basic tips that I would give anyone, and I'm constantly reminding my wife on our other account that she runs, is to be consistent. You know, if you're taking a day off, that's fine, but be prepared to launch at least 2 to 5 drafts, you know, that morning or that night, whatever day you take off, and try to spend about 5 to 10 minutes going through and doing like a refresh. You do a refresh quite often with your listings. At least show eBay some activity. Worked out for me. I wasn't expecting really many sales over the Christmas holiday, and I came home to 24 sales from Friday through Sunday, and it's because I spent 5 to 10 minutes per day on my cell phone. You don't even have to be in front of your computer, and make sure that you launch 2 to 5 drafts each day, and to go in and do a refresh, as Joe's talked about on this channel. And that for me is probably the biggest tip I can give, because a lot of people complain about having slow sales, but if you go in and you look at their store, everything looks good. What you don't see is the amount of activity that or time they've spent on their store on a daily basis. And I'm willing to bet, because I know people that have had mixed results selling on eBay, and it's almost always due to the fact that they're not consistent with their account.
Okay, sounds good. Good information. Richie the Wolf wants to know what borough I grew up in. Well, Richie, interesting story there if you haven't heard it before. When I was 5 years old, I was walking on the street in the Bronx, New York, with my aunt. We were going to the supermarket, and an old Pontiac rattle-trap piece of crap comes driving by. And all of a sudden, his left front hubcap comes clattering off and rolls right up onto the sidewalk where we were. And I'm looking at this rattle-trap of a Pontiac, and he backs up equal to where we're standing. And I look at it, and the two on the right side are already missing. And hubcap number 3 is laying by my feet. And the guy would not get out of his car. He just looked around, he didn't see it, and he drove off. And I said to my aunt, on the way home, I'm picking that up. That's worth money. That's a hubcap. And
Yep.
That's what started me into collecting hubcaps. So, Richie, I hope that answers your question. It's true, though. I couldn't make this stuff up. Here's a question about the Wyck Expressway rolling in.
So real quick, I'm glad something else didn't come flying out of that car.
Right. Okay. It's about the Wyck Expressway. They are currently widening it from 3 lanes to 4. My question is, how are they going to be able to do that? The air train pillars are in the middle, and here comes part 2. Both sides have a retaining wall. From an engineering perspective, how do you find room to create an extra lane? I'm familiar with that section of the road. And right now, if you can picture it, they have a very wide shoulder on either side. They might just turn that into a travel lane. That's what I'm thinking, but that's purely conjecture on my part. But that Wyck Expressway is a speedway. You can really make time there on a Sunday morning.
Hey, real quick, those of you who are asking any questions in the chat, I can't, for whatever reason, respond. It's not letting me. So if you have a question like Duncan VR did, I'll be glad to answer it when Joe brings it up.
Okay. Okay. If you see anything, John, just shout it out. If you see something that I missed.
Okay.
Okay. Let's see what we got here. We'll do this one next. We'll do Kathy Holloway. Hi, Joe. I am an elderly seller of clothes, pre-owned and new. I appreciate all the information you give out. I subscribe to your channel. Thank you for all that you do to help sellers. I'm from Ohio. Thank you for the positive comments there, Kathy. I'm glad to have you as a subscriber. And I'm glad you found my channel useful. And you know what's funny? A lot of people ask me, why did I start making these videos? You know, I started just on a whim back in the year 2007. What I did was I had a digital camera. I just took a few videos with it in New York City. I was uploading them just for the fun of it. And back then, PayPal had a very bad reputation. If you remember the early days of PayPal, how they would let buyers keep the item and give them their money back too. And I didn't take PayPal in the early days, but it was pissing me off that eBay was pushing PayPal and a lot of sellers were getting screwed over. So just on a hunch, I landed on someone else's video that was complaining about a bad experience he had with PayPal. I said, well, wait a minute. If this guy can do it, I can do it. So I started making videos occasionally about PayPal and about eBay. And people started asking me questions, contacting me privately, because back then you could contact any YouTuber privately. You remember that? John, do you remember that?
You know, I vaguely do. I vaguely do. But back in the day, I was only a part-time seller. So I would get a few items here and a few items there. I would sell for other people. Sometimes if I knew that, you know, I was going to need some money for the summer or whatever, or a trip coming up, I would, because I was working full time all these years, I would go out and, you know, do some sourcing and things like that. But I didn't pay the kind of attention to eBay that I pay to it now. So it's quite possible that I encountered that, but I just don't really recall.
I used to get so many messages from people, and it was really handy that YouTube had that feature where you could contact the uploader directly. I thought it was great. But they took away that feature, I guess, 8 years ago. Back then, they had a problem with kids. You may remember with kids going on YouTube and people were sending them harassing and inappropriate messages, and they launched the whole Child Protection Act. And that's basically why they took that feature away. But I would really like to see them bring it back for people 18 and up, because I think it was a very handy feature. And yeah, like I said, it was just an occasional thing when I started out. But I put them out maybe once a month or once every 3 weeks if something big happened on eBay, or if I got pissed off at a certain buyer. But then I realized that there was actually an avenue and a need for this kind of thing. So I started putting them out once a week, which was Friday night. And lately it's been more than once a week. Right, John?
Yeah. Yeah. And there's the, I think if you're talking about YouTube, I think they want creators to put out more content than weekly. So I think it's good that you're doing that.
I agree. Let's read this comment from Biscuit Button. Joe, you and John are two of the most straight shooters in eBay YouTube land. You guys don't brag about your sports car, talk about unrealistically listing 20,000 items a week. You both stick to the basics. Thank you, good sir, because that's exactly how I roll, and the same with John.
Yeah, yeah. I gotta say, Archie, that's Biscuit Butt. He knows me really well, but one thing that I don't portray is to be something that I'm not. I'm just a one man show. My wife, she's a one woman show on her store, and I don't go out and hire anyone to help me. And if I put out 10 items a day, it's really not so much about how many items I've put out. To me, it's more about the value of the items that I've put into my store. And at the end of the day, I'm averaging 5 to 10 sales a day, and I'm happy. I could do better. And in 2022, one of my goals, I'm not setting resolutions, but I can make goals, is to manage my time a little bit better than I have in 2021, so I can maybe get more value into my store, more items up. And I think sometimes, and I think a lot of you guys out there have the same problem, and that is, now that you're doing this full time, you don't manage your time the same way that you manage your time as if you're working that 9 to 5 when someone breathing down your neck. It's that freedom to do it however you want, at whatever speed you want. And that's fine, but you don't want to fall into the trap of, I can do it however I like, and therefore I'm going to put out 5 today and go take a nap and then go do this and that. If you're serious, if this is full time and you need the income, you have to treat it like a business. And for me, it's sort of 3/4 of the day is sort of like a business. And then I take, a break here, watch a video of Joe's there. And that can really hurt. It causes me to have 10 to 12-hour days. And that's not bad, because I'm happy. I enjoy doing eBay. And I wake up in the morning. I look forward to coming down and doing eBay. I don't dread it. And I think that's another thing. If you absolutely enjoy what you do, then you'll be successful.
It is so much easier to sell your items on eBay than it is to sell them in a physical store. You have no idea the headaches and the nonsense that I have to put up with on a daily basis. Okay? I will take eBay any day over the week than dealing with people in person. And I'm not complaining about people who are cheap. I have no problem with differing on prices. There are people that come into my store literally expecting the item for free, and in some cases wanting to leave my store with more money than they walked in with. The nerves, the absolute. Oh, I'm going to give you an example right now.
Okay.
The balls, just the sheer nerve of some people would make me sick. Here's an example. This has happened a few times over the years. A guy will come driving in with a fairly decent car. Let's just say a 4-year-old Toyota. And he'll say, how much is a hubcap for this car? And I'll say, let's just say, I have a used scratch one for $25. Mm-hmm. And the guy, $25? You're out of your mind. I'm not giving you $25 for this old hunk of junk car I'm driving. I'll die first. And he'll stomp out. A day or two later, the same guy will come driving back with 4 of those cheap China hubcaps on his car. And he'll say, I was in here the other day and you wanted $25 for a hubcap. I went down to Caldor and I bought these 4 for $45. Now I have 3. You wanted $20, $25 each. How much will you give me for these? And I look at the,
I would take
I
your
did.
same eBay tactics, and when he came in the second time, I would say, no, before you begin, it was 25 the other day. It's now 75 if you want this hubcap.
But now he's wanting to sell me his. Do you understand?
Oh, I do understand.
So what I say to him is I act dumb. I say, where'd you get those hubcaps from on your car? And he'll say, oh, I went down to Caldor and got all 4 of them for $45. I'll say, take those 3 hubcaps you got in your hand and bring them down to Caldor. If you want to do business with them, you can sell your junk to them.
Yeah.
I said, you told me you wouldn't spend 25, and then you went and spent 45? I'm telling you, there's a guy in my neighborhood that did this about 10 years ago. He came in, missing one, he wouldn't spend. He went and bought the 4 for $45. 2 weeks later, I see his car is already missing 2 more of the cheap China ones. He goes out, spends another 45, loses 2 more of them, and then goes out and buys a 3rd set. Instead of just spending the $20 for the first time he came into my store.
Wow. Well, that's why I'm glad I don't have a brick and mortar to deal with. You know, as it is, we have to deal with scammers and people doing chargebacks. And there's so few and far between that when they happen, I'm okay with it. I just couldn't imagine having to deal with maybe people trying to rip you off, shoplifters, and trying to scam you when they walk in. And do you sell more in your store than you do online, or is it more online than in your store?
Well, now it's more online, but when I first opened, I opened there in '94. This is before there was an internet and before there was an eBay. I was 100% walk-in, and it was freaking booming. It's like I was talking to John before we went on live. We had a little discussion backstage. I was telling him how busy I was when I was a kid back in the '80s. I mean, Ronald Reagan was president. Everybody had 2 hands full of money. Today, you're lucky if someone pulls out a plastic credit card. It's a total different world we're living in, and it's not for the better.
So what do you think it is? That there's not as much of a need for hubcaps, or people just figure I'll just go without it and no big deal?
In my area, it's a combination of things. One is people are lazy. They don't want to come over. Quite often, I will have eBay customers who live 10 minutes away from me. They don't want to drive over and buy it in person. They'd rather spend the $15 and have me ship it to them. So there's the laziness. That's one thing. Then there's the weather. Like I was telling you earlier, John, it's just so freaking cloudy and depressing. People don't want to go out in the daytime. You know, they don't. It's cloudy and rainy every day, you know. And ever since 9/11 in my area, the mindset of the people has changed drastically. People here live to have a good time. Come outside in front of my house any morning, there's no rush hour. You don't see people leaving their houses with their briefcase. Half of them don't even work.
Or they work at home.
Yeah, the ones that do work at home online.
Yeah.
There's no rush hour here anymore.
But despite all that, you still get a lot of sales on eBay. That's pretty good.
Oh, yeah. My eBay sales are very good. And that's why I go to the junkyard as often as I can, because anybody can sell the cheap China aftermarket garbage. That stuff is poor quality, no matter what part. Even if it's a taillight, they never fit correctly. People want original equipment, and if you have it, you will do well on eBay Motors, but be prepared. Also purchase a large size of Advil, because you're going to need it.
I have the migraine medicine here, actually, so I'm good.
You're going to need it. John, how many returns do you get on the average week?
On the average week, 1 to 2. 1 to 2. Now, I have currently 7 returns, actually 6, because I received 1 today. 6 returns where 5 still haven't returned anything. So, eBay, they give the buyer now, 35 days, and which is ridiculous. But I have those open cases, and you know what? it's kind of nice when you get down to almost zero and you think, oh, don't have to worry about any returns. And as soon as you think that, here come 2 or 3. And when it rains, it pours. It's like they come in spurts. And for me, I try not to think about returns. And now that we're talking about it, probably going to get about 3 or 4. Thanks, Joe.
Okay, well, John, here's a question from BXX32. John, I've been trying to find your eBay store. Would you mind sharing that? Thanks, man. Ben from Ohio. I was on the eBay live stream with you guys.
Okay, you're talking about the live stream that we had for the eBay Open or the eBay seller check-in a couple weeks ago. Well, Ben, my store, before I give you any information on that, just a caveat, it's nothing special. I mean, you're not going to be blown away when you check out my store. It's Value Trends with a Z, one word, VALUETRENDZ on eBay. And really, I've got about 440, 450 items in my store. Like I said, I sell 5 or list 5 to 10 a day, just depending on, the process that I have to deal with. And with electronics, I'm very thorough about the things that I sell because I don't want the returns. And I usually sell 5 to 10. Lately, it's been a little bit more than that. So I haven't been able to keep up with my sales. And that, like I said, part of that is my process. Part of that is my time management, which I plan on improving. But yeah, check out my store. I used to hesitate for the first year and a half of doing this channel to give out my store because I saw other channels that were giving out their store, and it would drive up the traffic in their store. And I didn't want to drive up my traffic. I wanted all my traffic to be organic. I didn't want people to come and look at my store and then mess up my my impressions and my traffic. And also, when you're checking out your performance, it's not enough to say, hey, I only sold an item or 2 today. What am I doing wrong? You need to look at your traffic and your impressions. And I didn't want the extra traffic and impressions that had no intention on buying my item to mess that up. But now that we're getting close to about 10,000 subscribers to my channel, I do want to lend some credibility that I'm not just some guy making videos that maybe has 10 items in their store. I do have a fairly good sized store. I'm sure about half of you guys that are watching have more items in your store than I do, but it's never been to me about how many items you have in your store. It's how much are you making? Because the bottom line is you don't deposit items into your bank account. You deposit your cash that you make from selling on eBay in your bank account. And that's all that matters. And so go check out my store, buy something if you want while you're at it. But that'll give you an idea of the things that I do and how I set up my listings.
Yeah, John, early on, I didn't give out my store name either. When I started in 2007, because nobody really cared. I only made occasional videos. But once I started getting to be well known and the channel got to be well known, and I started going to the eBay meetups locally here in New York City, then, I just got to be too well known. I couldn't hide it if I wanted to. So I just started announcing it. I guess that was around 2012 or so. And I'm going to knock off a couple of questions here at one time. Q Black. Joe, where is your store located? And I'm going to knock off this one at the same time. Biscuit Button. Joe, is your store more or less a warehouse? How long have you been at that location? My store is in Oradell, New Jersey. I've been there since 1994.
Wow.
And that's basically a retail store. I do have a special warehouse where I keep a lot of my other items. I hope that answers your guys' questions. If anybody has any questions, just keep hitting them in there. You're doing a great job, people.
On that topic, so when you make some sales on eBay, you have to physically go to your warehouse unit to pick the items that have sold, and then you bring them back to ship out, or how do you do that?
It could go either way. It depends on the item in question. So if it's a really popular item, sometimes I'll have some at work with me, and I'll just box them up right there. But if it's a really obscure item for a classic, like a 1956 Chevy, Well, that I'll be going to the warehouse for, because the odds of a guy driving to Oradell, New Jersey with a 56 Chevy are very, very low.
Mm-hmm. Oh, that's good information.
So yeah, I would like to tell you guys a little bit about sending offers to watchers. Something I've been talking about the last few weeks about this customer from hell. And John, I think I've been sending you screenshots on this, but maybe I'm wrong. But to sum it all up, a few weeks ago, I sent out offers to watchers. And one of the items was for $22 plus shipping. A person accepted the offer, but he didn't pay. 2 days later, he writes to me and says, I can't pay you right now. I'd like to pay you on the 29th. This is back on the 20th. So I didn't even answer him because I know that the eBay unpaid item thing is going to cycle way before the 29th. So I'm not worried about this guy. So a few days go by. And finally, it comes to the point where I can cancel the order because the buyer didn't pay, which is what I did, which is what eBay tells us to do.
Right.
I canceled it, I relisted it, and of course I blocked the guy. Now the problem with blocking somebody is you can block them from buying your item. You cannot block them from harassing you with the contact system.
Right.
Oh my God, this guy went ballistic on me. I mean, I kind of thought he was one of these guys that was going to get crazy. My God. Calls me all kinds of names, saying that he's going to report me to eBay. He's going to report me, and he's the unpaid bidder. All right? And the first letter I ignored. Then he writes back again, I pay for all my items. I want the opportunity to buy this cap. I really need it. I said, what you're saying is not true. You don't pay for everything because you didn't pay for mine. That's what starts this.
Well, he didn't say
he says, I said to him, buy it from someone else. What's the big deal? He says, no, you're the only person that's got this item. And he's probably right about that. I said, let me tell you something. I swear, as long.
Hold on. Look at that. Look what you did to me.
What? A return. John's got a return request. Is it for buyer remorse, John?
I have no idea, but I knew it. I knew it. The moment I mentioned returns to anyone.
Well, you know,
I can't wait for 2021 to be over with.
You're taking it very well. I got to give you that. Well, anyway, this guy says to me, either you let me buy the item or I'm going to report you to eBay again. I said, go ahead and report me. But I swear, as long as I live on this earth, you will never get this item from me. And I even took the extra step to raise it up to $40, just in case he thought he'd be a wise guy and buy it with a throwaway account.
And never bought it.
No.
Oh, wow.
And if he does buy it, and it's that same address, I will not send it. I will cancel the deal, and I will call eBay.
Well, all he has to do is have a family member buy it and have it shipped to the other address, not his.
That's possible. That's possible. So you want to tell us about the return?
Well, it's not a big item. It's like a $20 item plus shipping. It's one of those milk frothers that you can buy, made by like the company that makes Instapot. Well, they make the little milk frothers where you put them on the little adapter and turn them on for hot or cold milk frothing for your espresso or latte. And they're saying it with no real explanation. This is the milk frother will not turn on and doesn't work. Now, I call BS on that one because I ended up getting about 7 or 8 of these things in a liquidation pallet and only one didn't work. And so I sold the power adapter to that and threw the frother away. So yeah, I think that it's like a lot of electronics. They don't quite know how to use it properly because there is a sequence of buttons you have to push for it to be hot or cold. And so I'm very interested in seeing what this is going to turn into because if I get it back and it works, they're not getting their original shipping. And That's just the way it is. I'll give them their money back, but they're certainly not getting the original shipping back.
You don't have to, John, because that's grayed out, I believe.
Yeah. Well,
Right?
and here's the reason why I don't offer free shipping, because if you offer and I think I've talked about this before, if you sell a $30 item, free shipping, you have not defined the amount you've spent on your shipping or you've earmarked for shipping. Whereas if you sell it $20 plus $9.99 shipping for the same item, now eBay can give you the option to grade out. But if you have free shipping, $30, there is no option to gray anything out. It doesn't know or care how much you spent on that return label. You have to give them a full refund. And so in this day and age, with the price of shipping going up every 6 months, it seems like, for me, it just doesn't make sense to offer free shipping. We're not Amazon. We're not Walmart. We're, not any of those big box stores. I'll let some other seller do it. I will be competitive with my pricing with the shipping built in. And so they'll spend the same whether they buy it from this other guy or me. But when that item comes back and it's I have to get it to see. I'm 90% sure there's nothing wrong with the item. It happens a lot. But when that happens, they're not getting their original shipping back, and I'm not going to eat that. If I do, so there's 52 weeks in the year. If I do half of those weeks, 26 items in a year, it isn't a whole lot, but you're talking about what, $260 roughly. If my average label is $10, $260 that I don't have to give away, and it does add up. So,
John, you are right.
Yeah,
you are right. I get at least 5 returns per week.
Wow.
Luckily, most of them are honest people who bought the wrong size and they admit it. So that's not an issue now. But if I had free returns, like you said, I'd be paying the shipping both ways for an honest buyer who made a stupid mistake. Do you know how much money I would lose? Figure my average label is a minimum $15.96. That is a 3-pound box going from here to California.
Right.
Think how much money I'm going to lose. $15.96 times 2 per transaction times 5 per week.
Yes.
It's not happening, guys. No free shipping with cute Joey. No way. I don't believe in it. Nothing is free, okay? That word's a misnomer.
Well, I just checked this buyer out. They've left 2 negative feedbacks for sellers in the past. And this is something I always do. When I get a return request, before I respond to the request, which I haven't responded to it yet, eBay gives us a whopping 2 days to do that. But I haven't responded to it yet because I want to see who I'm dealing with. If we're dealing with a maniac who has nothing but negatives that they leave people, you want to sort of walk with eggshells. Now, the good thing is with returns, in most cases, eBay will remove the negative feedback. And even though you'll get a rep on the phone that'll say, no, I can't do it for you. And then a couple days later, it's gone. But this one put buyer purchases from Amazon and ships items to you, so you're supporting Amazon. That was one negative feedback. And then speedy shipping, but not happy with product. So that's probably what they're probably going to do to me if they haven't done so already, because we know these buyers love to leave negative feedback before even contacting you for anything. So
I was telling John before we went live on the air that I listed a retainer bracket, and about half an hour before airtime, a customer wrote to me and he said, height and spacing. Those are 2 questions he should never ask me about a retainer bracket, because it fits a specific car, which I have in the listing. So on a hunch, I was going to block this guy anyway, but on a hunch, I decided to see the feedback he left for everybody. I'm going to put this up on the screen. I want you to see this. I hope you can see it. Look at all the red. Look. There's no green. What do you think I'm going to do? You think I'm going to block him? Hell yeah, he's blocked.
Yep. So,
That's
know who you're doing business with if you have the opportunity. Now, there's no way you can stop some random guy that leaves negative feedback from buying your item, but you can certainly see, who you're doing business with when they make an offer on an item. I take the time to do that before I even mess with anything.
During the early days of eBay, the Wild West, I rarely ever got a negative feedback. I mean, I got a few, but not many. But like I've been saying all year, I got more negatives in 2021, negatives and neutrals, than in my entire previous 20 years on eBay.
Mm.
It's like they were giving away freaking candy.
Yeah. Yeah.
People are angry, they are bitter, they are nasty, and they are unforgiving.
Yeah.
And in every single solitary case, it was the buyer's fault, and I was able to prove it.
Yeah. And, I had a negative feedback. It's the one I have from earlier this month that will get removed once they return this item. They did open a return, but they left me the negative feedback and they opened a return case and they did not reach out to me. One thing I think eBay should do, they're very quick to tell us when we call in and ask for someone to, on the 800 number, or at least request a callback with the 800 number to, why don't you contact your buyer? Why don't you try to work it out with your buyer? Well, why don't you make that a stipulation? You need to send at least one message to your seller before you decide you're going to leave a negative feedback. I think that should be required. You have to at least work with your seller before you hit them with a negative. And I just think it's horrible that buyers can not only leave a negative feedback without contacting you, but they can leave War and Peace while they're at it.
Duncan agrees. Now, jumping onto what Duncan's saying right there, I had a guy leave me a negative feedback back in the summertime. I think that when a person leaves you a negative, that definitely violates eBay policy, that eBay should take action against the buyer. And here's what the guy did. He lived in Long Island, which is not far from me, and he bought a cheap, I think $15 Schaefer beer tray. I shipped him the item the next day. He got it. A few days later, he leaves me a negative and says, the item took too long to get here, but it arrived 3 days before eBay's estimated delivery date. I swear to God. So I called up eBay, and the representative was mystified. She said, why would he leave you a negative saying it took too long when it actually arrived early?
So his expectations were different than what eBay gave him. That's not right.
I don't think it was. I think the problem was, and this is just conjecture on my part, I think he was trying to get me over. I think he was someone that had a personal vendetta against me. Because after that, I mentioned it on my Friday night show. And this guy knew about it. Because he sent me another message through eBay saying, like, you shouldn't be mean-mouthing me on your show. Instead, you should contact me to find out why I left you the neg.
Wow.
Well, why didn't you contact me first before leaving the neg?
Wow.
Right? So there was something very wrong about that guy. It doesn't happen often, but it does happen. But thankfully, that's one thing good about eBay is they will protect you against bad buyers.
Well, thankfully, I haven't had many bad buyers lately. So knock on wood.
Most of my people are honest. If I get, let's just say, 30 returns a month, I'd say probably at least 25 of them are going to be honest, usually. And then the rest are all fake item not as described, so they won't have to pay the shipping back. People don't want to pay that shipping back.
Oh, and I'm pretty sure that that's what this return is. People get Christmas gifts. They give Christmas gifts. Maybe they already had a frother. Now Aunt Thelma's stuck with a frother she can't use. So let's go ahead and just send it back, get her money back. And we see the seller has a policy where the buyer pays for returns. So let's go ahead and just say there's a problem with it. so we can get around paying for that return label. So much like you. Now, the thing is, it's kind of a joke. eBay says that they will give a $6 credit if you have in what you call a fitchy return, where they just did the return to avoid, or in the way they did the return to avoid paying for the return shipping label. But I've only received that once, and I think I've requested it like 5 to 10 times this last year. So that's kind of a joke. And they don't want you using the refund tool to deduct that amount. And so I don't know if you've had success doing that, if you've had any repercussions from deducting that shipping cost, like you were trying to do that in the earlier example, you were trying to do that and it graded out. But have you had success in deducting on a fitchy return, deducting the cost of that return shipping label?
John, I actually have had success, and I was even told by an eBay concierge representative to go ahead and do it.
Hmm.
And she said that once that happens, if the guy opens a case against me because I didn't give him all the money back, that eBay would step in and they would A, give him the rest of his money out of their pocket, and B, protect me from any negative feedback because I accept 30-day returns. And I'm a top-rated seller.
Wow. Well, it's good that they're covering you, but at the end of the day, it reminds me of my economics teacher back in high school. He'd say every day we would walk into the classroom, there is no free lunch. And, you know, that money that they're giving that buyer has to come from someone. And, you know, if we have that happen too much, it just makes me wonder what the next fee increase is going to look like. So we have to pay for it.
Well, Duncan says something that's been on my mind for a long time. eBay needs to grow a pair and start kicking off some of these scammers. Seriously, they should be able to see people abusing the system on a regular basis.
Well, they claim they do. I spoke to somebody, was it a few months back on one of these seller check-ins, and that was one of my questions. And they claim that they do, and of course they won't share the details with you or anyone else. But why can't they, let's say on a yearly basis, say in FY21, we ended up kicking out, you know, this many people for seller abuse? That's not sharing the details of each case. It's just giving us stats. I'm sure they keep the stats. How many people did they 86? What they probably don't want you to know is they probably didn't do that to too many people. And if they came back and said, we kicked out 30 or 40 people all year for, you know, multiple scams that they try to run on people, I think there'd be a lot of sellers up in arms saying that ain't enough, because it's running rampant. And it's, you know, again, in my video that I made a while back about I love returns, you know, it's really about 5 to 10% of buyers are, in my opinion, somewhat dishonest. But I think it's even a smaller number than that who will take it to the level where they're actually scamming you. But if you take the number of buyers that are on this platform and get rid of all the scammers, I think eBay is truly afraid of losing that many potential sales, and that's fees that they're losing out on. And that's why I'm convinced they're not really concerned about the selling experience more than they are just keeping their numbers up.
You know, John, it's amazing. If a seller steps out of line and writes something insulting to either a past buyer or a potential buyer in the contact system, they will slap him down like a fly on the wall.
Yep.
Conversely, I can show credible proof where they will do nothing to abusive people who use fake accounts just to harass you.
Right.
They will do nothing.
And the technology's there.
Even if it's a zero feedbacker that's never bought a thing.
Right.
That person's not a buyer. Get rid of him.
Right. And they can go in and just block the IP address, not even the username. Any transactions done on eBay from this IP address will not go through. They can do that. They choose not to.
Jennifer V wants to know what's going on with the immediate payment. We've had some buyers making best offers that never paid. Any news? What about eBay cracking down on fake accounts from previously blocked buyers? Sorry, Jennifer, I got no good news for you tonight. I have nothing to tell you. The only thing is I've heard talk about possibly this summer, maybe there will be an option to require immediate payment on best offers. And I wish there was.
Well,
Because
there is, I understand there is for some beta accounts that are set up based on the buyer. I don't know who gets selected for that, but that's the only thing that I've heard. So it does happen, but not very often.
no, eBay is a great place to make money, but as far as the technology aspect, they're in the slow lane, all right? And I mean, it's not like they don't know what's going on because they do. They just choose to like.
Well, Joe, here it is. It's a little bit of that, but I can tell you from my experience in the corporate world where I'm here running my department and I can see, okay, this needs to be done because our customers need it. And it gets up to corporate and they'll shoot it down because they don't see a return on that investment. To make a change on the eBay platform seems pretty simple, but it's not just one person sitting behind a keyboard. It's a team of people that have to go in, make the change, make sure this change doesn't break something like it did with the Q4 update, or it broke all your sales and all your listings from being seen from potential buyers for about 2 or 3 weeks. So I guess they don't have that testing going on, but it takes a team to go in and to do that. And all those resources, it costs a lot of money that they don't want to invest if they're not seeing a return on that money. And I'm sure that's what's going on with eBay. They'll invest money into their platform, like some of these new features that they're putting into play, but only if they can project that that change is going to bring them a return of investment.
All right, here's an interesting one. T-Bone Capone says, hell yeah, buyers on eBay scam all day. eBay only cares about buyers. That's why sellers can't leave negative feedback. Now,
Love that name.
I've explained this before about sellers leaving negative feedback. And it's sad to say, but there was some sellers that were abusing it. And I saw this myself firsthand. Now, back in the day when we were allowed to leave negs, I would neg every single buyer who didn't pay. Everyone, nobody got away. During my early days, I was a little naive and I would neg them right away. And then they would turn around and neg me back. Because deadbeat bidders could neg us back then and we couldn't get it removed. And it didn't bother me a lot because I always had a decent amount of feedback where I could absorb 1 or 2 negs, where these people were often going into the red, -1, -2. It was great. It was kind of fun in a way. But what I would do is I would usually plot the dates on the calendar when the last possible date I could neg the guy would be, so he wouldn't be able to respond in kind. And that's what I would do. So 2 things came to mind. There was this guy who bought some Honda caps. This is really early on. And after he wins the bid, he refuses to pay. And he says, I thought they were brand new, but it clearly says they were damaged. So I waited to the last day, bang, negged him. Okay? So what he does, a couple of days later, he starts a throwaway account, buys my item, wins it, and the very next day leaves me a negative. Because back then, it was a 0 account, and he leaves me a negative to get back at me. You know, and I couldn't do anything about that. But there was a seller who used to sell jewelry. And I think it was a woman, but I can't swear to it. But the comments this woman used to leave for buyers was literally criminal.
Wow.
Any buyer that left her a negative feedback, no matter what, even if it was a deserved one, like the ring left a green mark on my finger, the seller would write something like, all my rings will leave marks on fat cows.
Wow.
Then she would say, The buyer is a child molester.
Mm.
I'm not kidding you.
Mm.
This person had sex with their cousin last night in the trailer. And things that I can't even mention here on camera.
And eBay didn't do anything.
No,
Wow.
it went on for years. And it was so over the top that my friend and I, each week, when we would talk on the phone, we would say, did you see the feedback left by so-and-so? I'm not saying their name on here now, but it was just brutal. And even when we had that tool called, what was the tool that used to have the eBay feedback that you could check? It used to be an online service, and I can't think of the name of it. Toolhouse, toolhouse.org. You used to be able to go there and check any seller's history of bad feedback that they left or got.
Hmm.
Oh my God, it was up for years, calling people child molesters and rapists. And finally, eBay took it down, maybe in the year 2010. But
Well, they
it
took
was,
it down or the seller down.
they took the feedback down that the seller left.
So the seller's still on eBay.
Oh, no.
Okay.
No, they had two accounts. They had their original one, eBay booted them, and they came roaring back with another one, and eBay booted them. But all the feedback stayed up all those years. But
Wow.
finally, eBay took it down, but it was bad.
Yeah, some people just have no business dealing with the public. I think that's horrible. I mean, you're running a business. The last thing, and especially now, you can see what feedback you've left for others. The last thing you want to do is to turn a potential customer away because you were unprofessional. You know, and I do remember back in the day when I was selling part-time that you did have, there were sellers out there that did that, what we called retaliatory feedback. You know, they would, and you just marvel over, wow, eBay is allowing this to happen. But you know what? I guess it happened too often, and now we don't even have that ability anymore. So the legitimate scammers, we can't do anything about, even, you know, as far as warning other people. But
No,
even then, what's a warning? We can't stop someone from buying our item.
I think that there's an easy answer for this feedback question. I think that anytime a buyer doesn't pay us, whether it's an auction or a buy it now or offer to watcher, eBay themselves should give the person a red dot, not us, eBay. Buyer never paid. Right?
Yeah.
Wouldn't
In
that
theory,
work?
yeah. Yes,
Yes.
but that would require them to add something and change something to their program, and there's no return in that. As simple as it seems, it would cost quite a bit of money for them to invest in that change in their software, and they don't want to do it.
But if they did it, it would answer most of our problems. There'd be no more deadbeat buyers, or very few, because they know that they're going to get stung when they pull that crap.
Yep. Yep.
But I don't think they'll ever bring back sellers leaving negative feedback for buyers. And I've been told this face to face by some eBay bigwigs when I was out in Vegas in the past.
Right, because they protect their buyers at all costs.
Yep. And it's sad to say there are sellers that would abuse it. And even today, I'm sure a few people would abuse it.
Yeah, I know that there's people that do it now. You know, they leave negative feedback without even making an attempt. Sort of like those people that do chargebacks without making an attempt to try to resolve the issue, which is against the terms of the credit card agreement. They're required to work it out with the merchant before doing that. Yet they get away with it.
All right, let's bring up a new topic, something we haven't discussed yet, from Jennifer V. Hey, Joe, give us the backstory on your Cadillac.
While you're doing that, I got to step away just a second, okay?
Yeah, sure. Well, Jennifer and everybody else, when I was a young kid, Cadillac switched the design from this big rear-wheel drive 1976 model to a smaller, streamlined 1977 model. And I loved the 1977 Cadillac when it came out. I remember it vividly. And I said, someday I'm going to have a 1977 Cadillac. So the years went by, and finally, I had enough money where I could go out and buy a halfway decent car. And I wanted a 1977 Cadillac. And I located one in New York City with 42,000 miles on it. Now, to me, back in the day when I was young, 42,000 was a brand new car. Previously, anything I had started with 100,000. So the car was in good condition, a little dirty and needed some detailing. And I bought the car. I paid $5,600 for it. I was thrilled to have a 1977 Cadillac, used but clean. And I kept that car and ran up 250,000 miles on it. I took the car to Miami twice with my friends. We drove down on road trips. That car went everywhere. And I literally ran it finally into the ground. And it died in the 1990s. But since then, I've had, I guess, about 6 or 7 more of them, ranging in ages from 1977 to 1980. And the one, Jennifer, that I currently have is a 1977 Sedan DeVille, and it now has about 124,000 miles on it. And, you know, it needs a little work. It's got a little bit of rust under the driver's side door, but it's in good mechanical shape. And I drive that car down the road and people look and people give me a thumbs up because it's just a plain old cool car. It's when GM was leading the pack back in the 70s and even in the 80s before Chrysler took over, when Lee Iacocca was running things. But today, GM is making, in my opinion, junk. Junk. Think what a garbage can would look like if you attached 4 wheels under it and pushed it along. That's what I think of GM today, right? And I can say that because I had a 2011 Malibu and I had several other cars. If they would go back to their old school ways and design cars that look good, every car today is black, silver, or white. Rarely do you see a car that's a different color. And I'm going off on a tangent here, so I'm going to shut up.
Well, I'm glad I had to step outside to check my my New Year's Eve tri-tip that I put on the smoker, and I think I made a cardinal sin before I started it. I didn't put enough pellets in the thing, so it stopped. So I'm glad I went out there.
Oh, as long as it didn't burn.
No, it didn't burn. It just didn't do much. It ran for about 20 minutes and then shut off. So I'm glad I went back out there to check on it.
Duncan wants to know how long the show is going to be because he has to go out for lunch soon.
Where's Duncan?
John, what do you think?
Up to you. Where's Duncan at? I want to know where he's at. Is he in Australia?
I know he's overseas. Duncan, okay. Where are you at?
So it's already 2022 where you're at.
Probably. You might be partying already.
Oh yeah, Jennifer. It will be. It will be good. It will be good. Trust me on that.
It'll still be good.
Oh yeah, that's you know, if I wasn't doing a YouTube channel, eBay channel on YouTube, I would be doing a cooking channel. That's for sure.
Duncan's in Sydney.
Australia. Awesome.
Yeah. 22 parties over already.
Started lunchtime.
Okay. Well, does anybody out there, anybody have any questions for John or myself? Because I guess we'll get ready to wrap it up because Duncan's got to go to lunch and I want to keep him. So if anybody has any questions, comments, or concerns, this is your chance.
I think we had a good conversation. What I want to know is what are some goals? I mean, we talk about resolutions. What are some goals that you're setting? I talked to you about time management, and what are you going to do better in 2022, Joe?
Oh my gosh, John.
One thing.
One thing? Oh, there's so many possibilities.
Just the most important thing that you have noticed this year that you can do better next year.
And it's regarding eBay?
Yeah.
I would have to say probably list more. because I don't list every single day and I really need to. I need to list at least 5 a day because I can't keep my inventory number up.
Right.
John, how many listings do you have?
430, 440, something like that. And a few months ago, I was up to almost 600. So, and I'm
Right,
listing every day.
right before COVID hit, which was almost 2 years ago, I was at my all-time high, almost 1,700 listings. I never got anywhere near that again. It keeps going lower and lower and lower. Now I'm down to 1,524. And what happens is I'll list 5 more and then 10 will sell. I'll list 5 and 10 more will sell. I just can't get back up.
That's what happens to me. But I'm willing to bet that if you listed every day consistently, your business on eBay would be even better. And one thing that you can do is, okay, you're going to make, let's say you're doing your listings, make 5 for tomorrow as drafts. Then do whatever you can for that particular day. So that way tomorrow something comes up, you can't make, time to list. You're not feeling well, maybe you're sick, whatever. All you got to do is go onto your mobile phone, 2 minutes, just launch each draft, and you've satisfied what eBay wants to see from you that day.
Sure. They like to see action, daily action.
Right.
Jennifer has a comment I'd like to share. Just want to say that you two are cream of the crop with eBay advice. Thank you. Thank you, Jennifer, for the kind words.
Thank you. That's nice.
ZXC, you know who ZXC is. That's Gary, the coin guy. Joe doesn't live in Las Vegas area like John does. And John gets to see a lot more of my old friend, the sun, my elusive friend.
Yeah, well, you know what? In July, August, I don't want to see that sun at all. It's too hot. 110, 120 degrees out here.
I've been out there, John, for the eBay events, and I know that it's 110, 120, but like they say out there, it's a dry heat.
Yeah, but hot is hot. And when you're out in that garage, most of my stuff, my photo area is in the garage, my staging area is in the garage. And if I have to go out there for more than 2-3 hours, it just drains you. It just wipes away any energy. Right now I can go out there all day long. I'm happy. But come summertime,
For you guys who haven't seen John's pallet unboxing videos, you have got to check them out. I love when John orders a pallet from, do you go to Overstock, John?
No. I go through different ones. I have a local one here. And now that you mentioned it, I have a 20 box lot that is Amazon mystery returns. You had said that, and I'm like, okay, I'm going to see what I can get here. So I'm in for like almost $800. I have to finalize. I have to actually pay for it. I went on and won the auction yesterday, and probably in about a week and a half, I'm going to do a 4-part series where I do 5 boxes per video. I want to make it too long. I mean, to open all those boxes, it would take you hours. So what I want to do is make a 4-part video so you guys can see if I'm going to make money off of it or not. So if you haven't checked out my channel, Flippin' Ain't Easy on YouTube, check it out.
Definitely. I highly recommend John's videos because he tells it like it is. And that's what I like, is when people give straight talk. So that being said, John, you want to maybe sum it up now?
Well, thank you for inviting me to this event. Hopefully we can do this again, maybe on my channel next time. And always like talking to you. Like you said, you are a straight shooter. You have that phrase, what's right is right, what's fair is fair. And same thing goes with eBay. If eBay does something well in the best interest for the seller, you know what? Kudos to them. And you're going to hear me, say, good job. Like this year, not too many. I think this is more on the USPS side. Not a whole lot of complaints about people losing their package. And, I'll be the first one to give them kudos. But if you do things to hurt the seller, if you are going to have a platform like eBay And if you are not going to have the seller's interest, I know you got to take care of the buyer, but at least take care of your sellers. Then I'm going to use this platform to echo not only how I feel, but how many of the viewers are feeling as well. And hopefully someone from eBay will see it. Now, if they care enough to do anything about it, that's another issue, but at least we're giving them the feedback by having these kind of channels. And thank you for, for leading the way. You've been doing this for many years, and you've had many opportunities to quit, Mr. Fitch and his BS and all that. You still do it. And, I get a lot of trolls as well that I don't talk about on the channel. And we do it because it's the few viewers, or the many viewers actually, who leave nothing but positive remarks and comments and emails. And it makes you just want to get out there and make another video. So I'm sure Joe feels the same way, but thank you to each and every one of you guys for supporting both of our channels. And here's to an even better 2022.
John, thank you for being on the show. And like you said, next time we'll do it on your channel.
Yeah.
I'd be more than honored to be a guest on your channel. And I'd like to thank everybody out there, Duncan VR for being a good moderator. He's very good at what he does. And all my subscribers and John's subscribers who came to watch the show.
Yeah, subscribe to Joe's channel. Subscribe, hit that button, hit the like button, because if you do, you're going to help his channel. And hit that notification bell so when he goes live, you're notified as well.
Yep. And thanks to everybody. I hope you have a great 2022 on eBay. And I hope you all make a ton of money.
Rock on in peace.
Exactly. And John, my line is rock on and peace. And John, your line?
Don't be fitchy. Well, that's your line too. But, all the stuff we talk about in this live stream are just many examples of how flipping ain't easy.
That's the truth.
Yeah.
Guys, we're out of here.
See you guys.
Nothing left to say, but goodbye.
Happy New Year 2022.
Yeah. See ya.